Welcome to Men, Sex, and Tantra.
Discover what your parents, porn, and religion never taught you about being a man and having extraordinary sex. Get ready to have your mind blown and your world rocked. Hey everybody, back to Men, Sex, and Tantra, and still have Ian on board, which is awesome. We've been having a great time. And I think this one, we actually might be have a little bit divergent experiences or ideas about this. So I always love it. Usually, for some reason, all the male guests that I have usually have similar experiences. So I always welcome that kind of, maybe this might be a little bit dicey, discordy. So we'll see. Just so you know, we're talking about coming down. So take it away, Ian. What does that mean? What do you want to talk about with that?
Yeah, so talking a lot about energetic capacity on the last
missed him for a moment. Energetic capacity.
Yeah, talking about energetic capacity on the last episode and coming into intimate experience over capacity. And really something that I started to watch in myself and get really curious about is using orgasm as a way to crash. Using orgasm as a way to slow this over busy, overproductive engine of a mind that's going, go, 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 go. And that, this really came to my understanding when I started to learn what the male body does after orgasm.
Right.
I was like, ding, 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 ding. Like, of course.
Yeah.
Like, men don't know how to, there's probably no pill, no drug that has you come down in the unique way of an orgasm.
Absolutely right. They should call it going, not coming, right?
Yeah. As a man, it's like, because the whole body's like, I forget what I read. It was like, the body's going to take energy from and nutrients from wherever it needs it to replenish the semen. And it was compared to the same level of a woman being pregnant. Like the body's going to take whatever it needs from wherever else to grow that baby. And it really hit me like, wow, what a mechanism. Just on overdrive all the time to oh, I'm sleepy. I don't even want to talk. I'm not going to think about anything. I'm going to pass out before bed. Like, perfect. What a tool.
And you don't think men are doing that all the time anyway? I mean, isn't that what men are doing that's driving them to that disconnect?
I think that, yeah, I guess what comes up for me is the lack of awareness of it being used that way. Like,
yeah, tell me more.
People that I've worked with, I see them doing that in their relationships, and I'm like, oh, like, because I know that they run high energy. They're high energy, and then I start to learn about their sexual relationships or their sexual patterns or their sexual habits, and it's like, You're crashing the plane that way. That's the way that you can slow the mind down, relieve some of the stress, relieve some of the overwhelm, feel knocked out naturally with all these different chemicals and hormones in your body being released in pure pleasure, and then in pure rest and digest, and the body putting all the energy into creating more semen.
So, and you're saying, because this is so to make it clear, you're saying this is beneficial.
I'm saying it's just something that needs to have awareness.
Okay.
I'm saying that it happening unconsciously it has side effects that I don't think are good for men right now.
Okay.
And I don't think it's good for intimate relationships.
Right.
And I think it's good in the sense that now with my awareness is when I choose to utilize semen retention, or when I when I'm like, oh, there's like certain times like, oh, this is a good time to have an orgasm. Like, perfect.
Yeah. So we're probably,
But it's the awareness that makes it something I can dance with, or that is just dancing me.
Got it. So, well, yeah. So we're not going to be in like this total discord on this. Sad. That's such a freaking bummer.
Well, we can start.
I was looking forward to a skirmish. I always love great debates. Yeah. So long ago when I was realizing that a lot of us use orgasm, kids do that. So when kids compulsively masturbate, it's because they're actually utilizing that to calm down their nervous systems.
Okay.
Right. And so that can be a way that they do that. Also, they can bang their heads against the crib, which is also not good. Right. But so when we learn to use orgasm as a medication tool, right, it affects us in ways that may not, you're saying use consciousness, which is, I'm totally agreeing with you here. So we'll reel into that. But using it as a medication tool typically means we try to get it done fast and short, which actually leads to a violent action in our body. So here's what I say. When people say orgasm is great for you, I'm like, no, not necessarily. People are like, what? There's good orgasms, and then there's orgasm with violence. And I'm not talking pithy spiritual experience here. Like I'm not, snowflake over here going, oh my God, orgasm is so violent. What I'm saying is the way we orgasm changes hormone levels, and they're not doing enough research on that. It's like saying sex is good for you. Well, no, bad sex is not good for you.
Right.
Great sex is good for you. And all the hormone profiles are different. So when you use, when you're anxious and you use orgasm as a medication tool, it will indeed drop you down. But the repercussions of that are different in your nervous system than when it's a long, lengthy flow into pleasure orgasm has an entirely different outcome. So one shuts you down energetically, physically shuts you down. The other enhances and builds good hormones and energetic and nervous system profiles.
Right.
So what I would say about that is that if you are somebody, woman or man, who uses orgasm as a sleeping aid or a down regulator, that chances are that you are also setting yourself up to make that be something you have to do, right? So now when you approach your partner, if you have one, or yourself with that, your hormone profile is more of an addict than it is actually of somebody who is allowing all of that nourishment, which we talked about in a nourishing thing. You have an actual violent kind of discharge. And so most women can get themselves off within 90 seconds from start to finish and not even be turned on.
Wow.
This is how men can also ejaculate while they never actually experience an orgasm, but only an ejaculation. This is where that comes when it's hard, fast, furious, and you're not connected. It's not the same.
Hard, fast, furious. Oh my God.
Right?
Oh, that's so funny. I'm so glad you brought that. And what it really sparked in me is the beauty I see in this, especially in a couple, is to learn about this together.
Mm-hmm.
Like learn about what men's bodies do when they ejaculate or orgasm. Learn about what a woman's body does when she has an orgasm. Learn about these different types. This is something that can bring more intimacy into the relationship and understanding dynamics that might already exist because they were created unconsciously. 100,
yeah.
And for me, what's been so liberating about learning of this subject and diving deeper into it is I keep track of how often I'm intimate with myself and when I orgasm, just to learn and like pay attention to like am I over depleting my body? Am I doing the 9-minute thing and just like, just using it like this tool, but no connection to self?
Yeah.
Like there's so much data in that to see how I'm most likely going to be as an intimate partner. Like if I pay attention with my own habits, I'm probably going to do that with, maybe I'll show off for a handful of times and do a couple tricks and stuff and be like, put on a show, but I'm most likely going to go into that pattern of the way that I behave with myself.
Yeah. There's a whole thing where I guide men to learning about self-pleasuring versus masturbation. So I divide those two things up. Masturbation is to get off. Self-pleasuring is to build and nourish your hormone profile in your system, may or may not have an orgasm.
Beautiful.
And so I think, and when men learn how to self-pleasure, almost all of them tell me, their women tell them they are so much better lovers. Because when you're your own best lover, like when I am my own best lover, I mean, literally, not just because I know how to get off, that's not about me getting off fast.
Right.
That's about me knowing my body so well and loving my body as I'm doing it, building up that nourishment, may or may not have an orgasm. That's not the point. The point is, how do I raise all the good hormones that I need in my body, right?
Yeah.
Without depleting, because women can have violent orgasms as well that deplete them. If the two people have an orgasm and the first inclination is to push away from each other, you've just depleted yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't really realize it because you might be used to it. The woman's like pushing the guy's head away, like, okay, I just want to get away from me now because I can't be touched anymore.
Right.
That was too much sensation. People don't realize that you can literally touch somebody like they're the wings of a moth and you don't want to pull off the dust.
Ooh.
Build up such charge that nourishes, brings the whole body into wanting more, like rising up towards the touch versus pulling back. That right there changes your hormone profile.
I love that. I love this episode.
This is arousing. This is awesome sauce.
It's such potent and empowering information, because when it's in the darkness, when it's unconscious, it's just something that's happening, but like starting to, so it's the greatest gift of being a human.
Yeah.
It's the greatest gift of being a human, to like see these things, to have the science that sees what's happening in that experience, to match it to our own experience, to share that with a partner or, just with ourselves. And then it's just so beautiful.
And where I typically don't want men to go to with this whole idea of, and we had talked some of this about semen retention, right? Like the idea that, is I've seen a lot of men read this stuff, try to do this stuff. And what's happening with a lot of them is they are actually creating more performance anxiety than they need to. And there's a lot of techniques that are out there that are taught by restriction, contraction and restriction. And what is not said is those are actually beginner exercises that you shouldn't do for long. Because the true art form of semen retention isn't about restriction, it's about total relaxation.
Oh,
so
love that. You just
right.
Love that.
Yeah. So basically, in the nutshell, the orgasm are the 18 to 35 contractions that you have. Everybody has an orgasm number, 18 to 35 contractions that you have with a different muscle group and a different nervous system than that final expulsion of the semen, which is from a different nerve and a different muscle. So that's the ejaculation and the rest is the orgasm. And by building up the orgasm and elongating the orgasm, that's where all the good hormones and everything increase, and your testosterone levels and everything else, while the ejaculation decreases.
Yeah.
So I think in learning how to relax into all of that instead of retrograde your semen or contract all your muscles and think about building a deck or whatever it is that you got to do to distract yourself. That's distracting, not, but really nourishing the orgasmic potential and those orgasm contractions and elongating them and making them more powerful and making those the crux of that. And for women, it's building up that arousal and feeling the pulses inside your uterus and feeling more of that pulse than the clitoral urgency. Those things definitely give us a different brain. It changes our brain waves, changes our hormone profiles. It nourishes versus depletes, and the other way depletes. And that said, once again, we take nothing away from anybody. We just want to add. We just want to add to your knowledge and toolbox.
And I got really connected to a couple of things that you said in regards to when you talked about separating masturbation and self-pleasure.
Yeah.
And that connecting to how semen retention can spin out into more performance-based.
Yeah.
That is such an important, those are such important pieces there, because it can. Men are raised, I judge men are raised in a world that is like, performance, be the best.
That's right.
It's like that act, it really is an opening. It really is a relaxation that is, I don't need to have an orgasm every time.
Right.
It's not the goal. I'm letting go of the goal of that. And that in my journey has been, it's been so profound to let go of that goal. It's everything. It's like, I'm not trying to build a house. I'm not trying to, fix something. I'm here present with no goal, and I'm opening my body. And that is a practice I can do with myself. And I love that you brought that key as like that with a practice of self-pleasure or semen retention, that it's not with that energy that retention word kind of brings.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this blocking or pushing, like retention. But it's really the, for me, it's opening up to, it's like, there's no goal.
Yeah. Pleasure
is the experience. Be in pleasure.
Yeah. Well, building our capacity for pleasure, because our procreative, so when men talk about being premature, I'm like, well, if you can go from, man is created to go from flaccid to ejaculation in 90 seconds too, like that. So if you're lasting longer than that, you're not premature, just saying. So we can take that label off right now. So what you're really saying to me is you want to have more control over your timing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Why? Most men are like, because I want her to be in pleasure. Really? Because most women are telling me they wish men didn't last the 3 minutes that they usually do. So I'm sorry, man, just sorry. But because the part that women love most about intercourse is when you're at your 9.9 imminent ejaculatory moment, you're the most present as a man.
Oh, I believe it.
Right. So you're right. You are a 9.9. Your 100% focus is now right here, right now in your body. Maybe the very few times that men are 100% in their body.
Yeah.
Not thinking, is that 9.9? Now, if you can 9.9 it for 20 minutes, 100% of the women would be totally into intercourse with you. Right. But it's your 9.9.
Yeah.
I have a funny story. I had a phone call once. I'm sitting at home, I pick it up, and all of a sudden I hear 9.9. It's one of my clients. I'm like, what are you saying? And then I hear her say, he's apparently in the middle of having sex with his partner, and he wants me to talk him down out of his keep him at his 9.9. I'm just like, wow, holy shit. I'm like, breathe, relax your ass, breathe, relax your ass. I'm thinking, wow, my life is so interesting. And so, I'm telling her, hold still, him, breathe, relax your ass, hold still, him, breathe, relax your ass.
Oh my God.
Anyway, that was funny, but
like a conductor.
I know it was exactly like, right. Yeah. And of course, when a woman feels that kind of pleasure, when she ramps up, she feels his focus and pleasure, and hers ramps up. It usually throws him over the board, because most women are not at a level 1 of a turn on most of the time. Like, I've had men say like, oh my gosh, sliding into you is like sliding into molten lava that I fucking can't even manage to do, because it's like there's something happening there. Most of us are numb.
Yeah.
Really
Totally.
disconnected and numb. So yeah, it requires some training if you want to be that guy that can hang out at your 9.9 while your woman's riling around on the end of your penis because she can't stand that, literally like writhing, grabbing you, freaking out. You're probably going to say, I've never seen a woman that's actually been turned on.
Yeah.
Because most of us haven't.
I think I'm so happy because I can reflect on all the episodes so far that they all pertain to this. And I love that you brought that the 9.9 is being that present.
Yes.
That's the 9.9 so many women talk about loving. And so we have so much room as men to focus on being more present in our intimacy.
Yeah, it's what women want. When they're asking you for this stuff, they're not asking for you to know the butterfly technique in fact, I talk about this. The worst sex experience I had was with a Tantra man. He was I don't usually date Tantra men, but he was a Tantra dude who taught for years, and he was like, woo, everybody was like, woo. And everybody's, oh, ooh, Tanja, Tantra and Tantra. Ooh, what's that going to be like? Well, it was boring as fuck because basically he was in performance mode because he was worried that I needed what I was going to think of him. Yeah. And I could literally say, oh, he's going to do 3 strokes now to the left. Now he's going to go this twirl. Now he's going to do that. I could tell you what techniques he was using. And 20 minutes or 10 minutes in, he looks at me and he goes, so you don't seem to be having a good time. I'm like, wow, that took you a while to figure out. Yeah, you're right. And I felt like I could be totally 100% with him. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, why are you pulling out all the repertoire?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I was worried that, you've probably had but I'm like, it's about presence. Like, didn't you learn this already? What are you teaching people?
Yeah. Be here.
Right. What does that mean? That means sometimes sex is boring. Sometimes sex is mundane. Sometimes it's, like boring in the sense that we're both here and neither one of us are feeling that thrilled about this.
Yeah.
Wow, how cool is that? Yeah. That can be cool. Yeah, be present. It's always different if you're present in the present moment.
And it is, I feel like, because there's so many chemicals, there's so many hormones involved in intimacy that I think that it really is so similar to being an addict and like getting off of drugs because when our intimacy has been a certain way so often, like, maybe our whole history had like intimacy.
Can I stop you from saying intimacy if you're talking about sex? Can we separate sex, intimacy?
Yeah. So sex. I was piling it all together, but if we're having sex, like if I'm on this journey to become more present, it's gonna feel awkward. It's gonna feel wrong. It's gonna feel bad because it's not what I've been doing my whole life.
Yeah, awkward. Yeah, being present is awkward. You got to be able to handle the awkward in presence. Because, if you're there with your partner and everything's supposed to be going whatever's supposed to be, being the operative word there, and then both of you are just kind of like, my partner and I did a 30 days of sex. I always have couples do like 30 days of sex. And most people are like, yeah, that's cool. Men are like, yeah, we're going to do 30 days of sex. So here he is. We're like on day 7. Things have been going well. And we're laying in bed and I'm like, yeah, we need to do our thing. And he goes, yeah. And we're both laying there. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. And he goes, yeah, I'm not feeling it either. I'm like, dude, let's flip a coin. Whoever gets heads has to start. And he's like, yeah, okay. So I'm funny in bed because I think it's like you need to be funny in bed if you really want to have a good time. And so, this idea that neither one of us was feeling it, yet one of us is going to take responsibility for bringing it, whatever it is, to the scene. And yet to be okay with, we're going to do this commitment, though we're not going to feel it. We actually had the best sex of the entire time when neither one of us was feeling it to start, which is an entire episode in its own. But that's a pretty fascinating thing that can happen on the way. So, all right. So we're coming down. So we started this whole thing with medication, using ejaculation as a medication tool. we both said a lot of people are doing it, and most people are doing it without consciousness.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And so what do you want the main key point of that to be? What is a key point here we want to bring out in these things?
Like, is this what they're walking away with, like, to do?
Yeah, or even just like the main summation of like, because it started off, I thought we were going to be on different tracks. It looks like we're probably on the same track.
And I'll say once again, I'm gonna plug, because we're gonna dive deeper in another episode, and I think it's just being aware and observing, especially as a man, how you use orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at your patterns, be curious, be observant. Like, how am I using orgasm? Does this resonate for me? Once again, we're not pushing anything on anyone. It's like, does this resonate for me? Do I find myself like go into sexuality, and then when I orgasm, I'm just like, oh yeah, like knocked out, not, brain's not working, just gonna lay here like a lump, like, and I guess my favorite thing that came to me really about this subject, especially if there's a partner, is to like dive into this subject together, learn about how orgasm works in each other's bodies, and start to see your own patterns. It's really the theme that keeps coming up for me is like self-discovery, self-learning, gain some data about self.
Yeah. And so the same thing, that we definitely agree on is this whole like being conscious of why you do something. The thing about being conscious about why you do something doesn't mean you need to change it. Yeah. It just means that you now have the ability to find out if what you're doing is actually functioning well for you.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right? Like, is this functioning well for you? So if you're using ejaculation as a medication tool, then chances are that's the energy. Because remember, everything we do a lot of becomes a neural pathway habit, right? Yes. So that means, and you said this, that your chances are you're going to take that into the bedroom the same way. And yes. Women's biggest complaint is feeling like men are just masturbating in them.
Yes.
So when it comes to intercourse, right? So if that is true, that you're seeking that downer, don't do it inside a person or with a person. Do it yourself. Like if you literally are like, oh, dude, it's like shooting whiskey or taking a Quaalude or whatever it is. You just need to get off, to get that over with, to take that down. Acknowledge that this is what you're using, and acknowledge that you don't want to use somebody else in that way, because that's not actually liking sex.
Yes.
Newsflash. That's not about liking sex. That's about just hitting that, the reset, coming down, hitting that coming down, as Ian said, button. It has nothing to do with sex. It has nothing to do with pleasure. It's got nothing to do with anything except you wanting that particular drug, which happens to be a downer. Okay. Do it all you want. Just know that you're doing that. Yeah, and know that that's a problem, usually in the bedroom with a partner, especially if it's a woman.
Yes.
Yep. 2 men, I've been told, is different, unless the men who actually want connection that way. So then that's different too, right? But so be aware of what you're doing. Second, and women, by the way, women too on this, if you're just getting off to get off, that's the same thing. Second is how to change that. And that's what you were saying is, oh, I'm looking at when might be a good time to do this? When might be a time to stretch this out? I like to add, how about building your capacity for pleasure?
Yes.
Like if you are aroused and you're like, oh my God, my dick is so hard and I've just got to get rid of this energy. Holy shit, got to get rid of it now. Then you have little capacity for pleasure, right? You're on total primal procreative drive right there.
Yeah.
How about being in that pleasure? And then you're like, but I'm going to get blue balls, Tanja. You don't understand. You're a woman. Yes, women actually get tension, engorgement internally the same way men do in their balls. We get it in our ovaries and our pelvic floor. So yes, I understand what that feels like, and it's not pleasant. And you can build the capacity for making that bigger and bigger. Can you imagine, like, if you think the pleasure you're having now is awesome, like I'm telling you that it's probably like a 1 out of infinity compared to what you could have.
Totally.
Just saying. So to blow your mind, don't blow your load.
Yes. Oh my God, I love it.
Oh, that's if I need a bumper sticker.
Yes.
Blow your mind, don't blow your load.
100%. 100%.
You know, yeah. So just build up that tolerance, that capacity, that ability to continue to be in bigger and bigger and bigger pleasure, women and men. And when we do that, and then you are with your partner, you have that ability to get more as just people are not aroused. I swear to God, I wanted to do a TEDx on this actually years and years ago, and I couldn't land the plane on it. One of the ways, Ian, by the way, everybody, Ian and I know each other through Thought Leader, which is a get your TEDx, talk done thing platform. But I wanted to do it like how it is that we're literally living in so low arousal. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So this is the start of, instead of coming down, build that capacity. So that's how you do it. Show up, right? Show up, live it, be it, feel it, be conscious.
Stretch, grow.
Stretch and grow. I know. All right. We will be back. Thanks, everybody. See you later. And we're out.